Here's an unreleased exclusive by the one and only JGivens. You're welcome.
Dissolve all the problems, baby. No matter the confrontation, you act like Pantages, a caricature of ages. Jangle leg when you skating, walls shaping the face of Disney Walter, Clyde Frazier. Diss me chopping some phrases while my metropolis ages. Darkness gets gentrificated, Liddy, I'm coming outrageously. Look back at that fateful school route. Fahrenheit but futile, arrogantly move now and defiantly cool out. Massaging places at the temple's frustrations. Dig it like irrigation, the flattest pockets be faking. Immortal man from a different glance. Ain't shit too graphic for my indie hands. No reservations, her friends was right, her shadow froze before she grabbed her clothes. Big brain break, little bang, the fattest pockets gon' take it. Corporate confrontations, cut climate, compute her codes, nigga. Can't be controlled by what you can't control. Too cold. Hot girls getting ready now. When you say what you mean, you can burn it down. Don't do it, sis, cool out. Dub one for the cool out. Got ops on the whereabouts. A man on a mission, son, going down. Don't do it, you can cool out. Count down till you cool out. It pays to represent your ass.
Welcome. Joey here. I feel very cool with this music behind me. I can't wait until you hear this interview with JGivens. And I was thinking the other day how much I appreciate this podcast for me. Like, I feel it's a gift to me. I get these thoughts stuck in my head, and it's like, I don't know, it's a little therapeutic and freeing to get them out right here. So listener, you are giving me a gift by just letting me vent every now and then. So I've been thinking about this one. Let me process out loud. And when I say process out loud, we need to allow people to do that a little more freely. Like, that means I don't know exactly what I think and I don't have it all processed and figured out. It's me processing out loud. So it's not time to argue or saying, why'd you say that? So I hear a lot of my church folk family talk about lost people. And sometimes it's said so flippantly. And usually with people I hang out with, though, the context is true love for people. It's not arrogance. But I wish we could just retire this one forever. Like those dusty toys on the top shelf of Andy's room. I know where this is coming from. I really do. And I'm pretty sure I see people and souls differently than folks that use this terminology. But even if I didn't, can we just not call a huge group of people lost? It reminds me, there was one time a bunch of local churches in my community were getting together to have like a big serve day. They're going to go into some poorer neighborhoods by giving a helping hand in the community, and they wanted to wear shirts that said, "Doing it into the least of these." And my wife was at a meeting where this was being planned, and they couldn't understand why she was pushing back, because they don't want to water down God's word. Honestly, I don't appreciate you taking the terminology lost people off the shelf for me to self-describe. I mean, I'm so lost so much of my life. I think about it, and it seems like, according to Jesus and Paul, everybody's lost who can't prioritize love. They're like a clanging cymbal. I wish we could just, I don't know, hear how it comes across when we label a huge multitude of people as lost, especially when those very people see so much ugliness and hypocrisy in the church. Like, let's not say this, at least not publicly. I mean, I feel like we all need a savior all of the time. I mean, I've even thought about how a message of hope can get so diluted because of its entanglement with cultural, religious stuff, making the messenger unrelatable to begin with. And it's not intentional. So I get it. I really do. And I don't know what else to say except let's ditch this one like I would like to. And let's just talk about love and majesty of Jesus and how we can worship dependable God instead of undependable creation, and then just let the chips fall. That'd be nice. I think I would like that. All right. Well, I hope everybody is hanging in there. This is some crazy, crazy times. And I really do hope this conversation maybe just brings a little smile to your face. Hope you have a little fun listening to it. All right, folks. JGivens.
Style. Hot girls getting ready now. When you say what you mean, you can burn it down. Don't do this, it's so loud.
That's awesome. So where are you? I know you're West Coast, but where on the West Coast?
I'm in Los Angeles.
That's what I thought. You and Jason Petty hang out, still keep in touch and all that?
Yeah. Prop lives like 10 minutes from me.
Does he really?
Yeah, he's on the other side of downtown, so yeah.
Gotcha. Very cool.
So probably a silly question, but like, what is everyone doing there with coronavirus on that side of the country? Like, is
Going
everyone
to work,
freaking
girl.
out? What'd you say?
Yeah, people are starting. I say going to work.
Yeah.
But no, people actually know. There's a lot of people that are like calling in. Yeah, people are kind of flipping out. Actually, at my job today, we're shutting down the office all next week.
Yeah.
Because we do programs after hours. And so I work for a nonprofit, and we put on programs all week. And so all of the group sessions are closed. We have like a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We do like dance classes. So there's like a runway class and a Vogue class because it's for like the ballroom scene. So they do their thing in there. And then we do like HIV testing and STI testing and stuff. So we're still doing our testing, but everything else having to do with programs is all shut down until further notice.
Gosh. I know it's really affecting the economy. Like, I mean, it's just very crazy. All the kids are like, "Ooh, I wonder if they're going to have school at home." And I'm like, I do not want that.
Do you guys have kids?
We got 4. Yep.
Oh, okay. Well,
13, 11, 9, and 7. Yep.
All right. Do you?
Yeah. Hey, I was I was telling Pricilla a little bit of your story, and she was excited to get on here and be a part of this. And so I obviously had to pull up Fly Exam and play some of it. And you know how when you've been removed from an LP for a while and then you revisit it and you're like, what the heck? This stuff is real. So put it this way. I put it in my iTunes genre of things I got to start listening to more. But I used to play it nonstop. And then I just, there's so much music out there. But I was like, daggum. Like, I don't know if you've gotten this a lot, but you've got really good lyricists, which you are, but then you've got super witty lyricists, which you are. Do people tell you that? Like you're just super witty in your lyrics?
I guess maybe I've never heard it like that. So thank you for that. Usually I'll do my witty check when I hear people laugh or, when they laugh like, oh, this fool is like, yeah, that was witty. So yeah, that's definitely my favorite lyricists are always, of course, mechanically great at the word structure. But I mean, you got to have, punchlines and not just how they think of that, but you got to make people laugh. You have to have every aspect of, I think, of a master of ceremonies,
Yeah.
So
yeah. I almost hesitate to say this because I can't remember who it was, but it's either Royce the 5'9" or Black Note.
Definitely Royce.
One of them said, my shit is Martin Luther, your shit is Martin Lawrence. Like basically saying, I'm serious, boy. I'm tearing this up. You're a joke.
And you're comedy right now.
Well, I want to...
I think that was Royce the 5'9".
Was it? Yeah. Yeah, for some reason I wasn't sure.
Is that off like this recent album?
Not the most recent. Have you heard the most recent?
Yes.
In 2020? Oh, my gosh.
It's Allegory?
Oh, my gosh.
Amazing.
Yeah, we were playing that in the car. It's always fun when I have a song that I can play in front of the whole family. And one of my favorite songs on that, I'm like, yeah, I can bump this with the family, no problem. So we want to explore all sorts of territory. And it's funny, I reached out to you. A lot of our listeners, all of our listeners know that I was part of Bad Christian Podcast. And so when I was with that podcast, I had reached out to you a few times and we never put something together, but I think it was basically you weren't ready to do something like this. And so I don't want to put words in your mouth, but the most recent email a few weeks ago, I was super excited, man. You responded and said, let's do it. Let's and I want to say that I took this as a huge compliment that you felt like this was a platform that you felt welcomed in and comfortable with. So that means a lot. I don't know if those are your exact words, but something along those lines. I was like, hell yeah, that's awesome.
It's worth the test. Like, I'm like, I'm familiar obviously with Bad Christian Podcast, and just, even where the whole, it was more of a safe space in general for us on the fringes, I guess, or whatever. And so yeah, I figured, like, I just figured if any place to kind of convey, I guess, in this community, it would be somewhere cool like here, with you for sure. So
I appreciate that. Have you done like a extensive talk like this since basically coming out? Like, have you done a conversation like this?
Yeah, I had a few interviews. One was I guess forgive me for if I get any terms wrong, but in the Christian or space, really just one, and that was for Prop. I was on the Red Couch podcast, and so we did an episode about masculinity, and he kind of asked some questions, or I guess the hot button questions or whatever, and then we kind of took it with the conversation. So obviously from our relationship, or maybe not that obvious, but he's a safe space. He's my friend, so it's absolutely. Like I didn't really look at it like that. But no, not really. I actually stayed away from the space for a while. I had a few people that I wasn't familiar with, that I never met, that hit me up to ask me, how's everything going? But I didn't want to, one, I'm at a different place in even talking about my experience. When you're kind of in it and going through it as everyone's watching and chiming in, they expect you to have all of the answers, or even if you have the answers, they expect you to have the tone where you don't have the hurt, from what's going on presently. And so, so it's hard to emote, and then, you say things, and then it's just, it just became a point where I was just like, honestly, forget this whole silo. I don't want to converse about this in this silo, because a lot of people just are not listening to me. They're just talking at me, or maybe they don't even know me, They're just talking at a figure. Yeah. And so I had to step away, and then also, just step away and continue to grow on my own in my own life, because the online stuff is just a sliver of actually what's going on, in your life. Right. And so yeah.
I do want to restate real quick something that you said, that people weren't ready to hear, or they weren't willing to hear the pain in your tone. Something like that. My short-term memory is really bad. That was 1 minute ago.
No, that's good. That's good.
But that was pretty profound. That's. I like that you said that. That's crazy. Well, I did a little digging, and I do want to. Well, I tell you what, I'm going to hold off on that. Let me just. Do you mind if we just start? Like, I kind of like to jump around. I kind of have in my head where I'd like to go, but then typically I just like to let it go where it goes. But can you think about, was there a point when all of the sudden you decided, okay, it is time. Like, I am going to come out of the closet. Like, do you remember making that decision? Like, was it a moment for you when you said, I'm going to do this?
For sure, yeah. Well, the moment was probably around, I would say, about August 26th of 2016. And actually, I have a single called Understand. We did a short film with it, and there's a line on there that says, since the 26th of August. And that was a time that was a real low for me, just in the kind of lifestyle that I was just dealing with like, addiction and it had just, it was a low. I think I went a little bit lower after that, maybe with a few more relapses in my program, but that was a point where it was like low. And it was also the point where I went to go get tested, and I tested positive for HIV. And so I had kind of already had already knew, like when my test results came back reactive, and she's like, well, they came back reactive. And I was like, well, what does that mean? She said, oh, you're HIV positive. And I was like, okay, cool. What do I do next? Where do I go? And she's like, what? She's like, your reaction is kind of, and I'm like, girl, I already knew. Like, I had already made that I had already come to terms with that.
Right.
And so then at that point, I had to, one, get on my feet and climb out of, just the kind of the pits of addiction and really actually, start a program or start, it was really, really bad. It got really bad.
Are you open with what the addiction is, or you just rather keep it at addiction?
Yeah, no, it's meth. It's all over my music. It's on Fly Exam.
Gotcha.
So there's like,
I have a hard time reading between the lines, I guess.
So if you recall on Fly Exam, there's a song called Hummingbird Stance.
Yes.
And it's and the first verse is like a personification of, these trees that can't afford healthcare, the Everglades are dying, all that stuff, right? And then the second verse is, it starts with a whirlwind of white smoke swirls through the pipe slow. Like that was like a huge point in my life where I was actually wrote that at the time that I had realized that I was an addict, which was about in 2014 when I had realized for myself, when I actually admitted it. And I was living in Long Beach with with Ron, with DJ Effecto, who's since passed away. But that's when I was writing Fly Exam. So a lot of that was about addiction and actually falling, like high and fall. It was literal, even on that.
So you beat meth. That's crazy.
Well, I didn't beat anything, but I won't say I beat it because I don't plan on relapsing. I finally have I'm able to appreciate sobriety, but I was regularly for 8 years. Yeah. For 8 years, and so.
Can I jump in really quick? Joey is talking to you because he already knows your music and seems to already know your background.
You're dissing my interviewing skills. What's wrong with you?
I'm just like, gosh, I mean, how old are you and where did you grow up and do you have siblings and can you tell me some of
You don't think we're going to get to that?
I know. I just want to know because I'm like, whoa, you just told me some amazing.
We just went straight to the jump.
Right. And I'm like, look at you. Like, look how talented and amazing you are and what you've been through. And I kind of want to know that beginning part. So
I feel you.
I don't know. Do you mind sharing some of that?
So how old am I?
Like throwing it. It's real deep. How old are you?
I'm 32.
What's your favorite color?
Here's
Blue,
what's funny.
Cerulean specifically.
Here's what's funny.
Right.
Here's what's funny is we had such a crazy afternoon. We took the kids to play tennis and made dinner and homework done and all that stuff. So I said something specifically to Pricilla that she obviously did not hear. I said, by the way, I kind of have something mapped out in my head. I'm gonna start with right when you realize when you were going to do it. And I said, don't worry, we'll get to everything else.
And I can't handle it. I guess I didn't listen.
She can't handle it. Well, I tell you what, Pricilla, you go ahead
I just want to know.
Get the foundation that you need right now.
I know. Sorry. And Joey, I always call Joey a music snob. He keeps up with all the cool music and I'm kind of a dummy. I don't really know everything.
Well, you benefit from my snobbery, though.
I do. I definitely benefit. So, where did you grow up? Where are you from?
Yeah, I'm from Los Angeles, specifically Gardena, California. It's just south of Inglewood, so in the north side of the South Bay. Let's see what else. After the Rodney King riots, my mom moved to Las Vegas, and that's where my great grandmother and grandfather lived, and so we moved to Vegas, and so I was back and forth from there. I would go to school there, and then I would be back in LA for for summer or 4 months at a time, up until probably about middle school, and then I kind of stopped doing summers in LA until high school. I don't know. We were back and forth, so. Yeah, born in LA, formative years in Vegas and here, and then I came back to LA after I graduated high school to go to college. Went to USC, studied mechanical engineering, and then when I graduated, I started doing music, and that took me on a 10-year run doing music.
Wow. So were you musical, like growing up? Was that just always your thing?
For
even as a little
sure.
kid?
Yeah, for sure. Music was always in the household. I mean, anything from like, Parliament, like funk, everything. I mean, soul, R&B, hip hop. And then my actual performance, my first experience with actually playing music, at when did I start? I guess that was 11. When I was 11, I started in the string orchestra, and I did that from 11 all the way up until I was 18.
Nice.
Yeah, that is cool. We had a couple girls that used to play violin, and they totally quit in the 5th grade. I'm sad about it.
Yeah, I played viola.
Things that come up on a podcast when your wife is.
That sucks. They should pick it back up. I played viola for 8 years.
Did you really?
Yeah, I was in the state youth orchestra, honors orchestra. I got like trophies and all that stuff. I got kicked out of school my senior year of high school because we had so the regional event for all the high schools is called, I believe back then, man, that was a long time ago. Back then it's called Music in the Parks, and high schools from the western region would play at Disneyland. In our senior year, we decided, hey, let's bring some weed, and we got busted. And so that was our little stint. We got busted, and I had to go to my senior year. Mind you, we're getting college acceptance letters. We were like top of our class, AP classes. I was vice president of the school that year, everything, and it's this big scandal. We got kicked out.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I was emceeing the assemblies and everything, and
oh my god,
we ended up getting kicked out. We had to go to opportunity school, which is like alternative school, for a month. And it just so happened that the window of time that the concert was, which was in March, that was the last week to get accepted. So had it been later, I wouldn't have graduated high school.
Oh my gosh.
Just because of the way that the school district was, and our school was in a no tolerance zone. So there weren't any type of wavering as far as what, expulsion immediate as far as in the zone it was in.
Wow.
But
so that happened now. Would that be as big of an issue? Is marijuana legal in California?
Yeah.
Very much so.
Yeah, I thought so. Look, I'm in the South Carolina. Not yet.
I had a therapist that moved out that way, and she literally told me,
right.
She was like, you're on the interstate, and you just run right into that smell.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Out of nowhere.
Yeah, it's like 7-Eleven now. I mean, if you want a joint, you just go in and buy one.
Yep. Now, is there like, is there different places where you can and cannot smoke it? Like you can't smoke it in the car and stuff like that.
No, it's essentially like alcohol. Like, you can only
you
can't smoke outside or drink outside.
Gotcha.
Same.
Yeah.
So, do you have siblings?
I do. I have 4.
You have 4 siblings?
No, I have 3.
Oh, you're
There's
one
four
of 4
of us. Yeah.
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 Oh, just like that. So, what number are you?
I'm the oldest and the youngest. So I have an older sister from my dad's previous marriage. She's 8. She's
gotcha.
8 years older than me, so that's my big sister. And then and then I was my mom's firstborn, and then she had 2 more after. So
cool.
yeah, I'm 32. Sisters, or my sister's 4? She's 40. I'm 32. Then my other sister's 27, and my brother's 21.
Yeah.
Would you say relatively tough childhood, great childhood? How would you describe just your upbringing and your life as a kid?
Yeah, I think it was a great childhood from my view, but then when I look back, I'm like, damn. Like,
How
man.
come? Like, why?
I was raised in a single mom. I'm very grateful for the relationship I have with my dad now, because my dad wasn't there. He was in California. And it was pretty rough. I mean, I went to school, but I think just growing up, even just as, I don't know, being a black kid in the 80s and 90s is hard. Like, that's the peak of the reason we left LA is because, my mom had an incident with some kids who were gangbanging, and the neighborhood that we were in, neighborhood that we're from, was a neighborhood called, as far as a street, it was Shotgun, which is a Crip neighborhood.
Wow.
And so my mom, there was one instance where she was coming from the swap meet, and some kids rolled up on her. I came up to her wearing all red and trying to take her Gucci bag, and they're like, give me your Gucci bag. And is this podcast clean, or should I keep my language clean?
Say whatever you want to say.
Okay. And pretty much they were like, bitch, give me your bag. And my mom, she's so gangster. She was like, well, you're gonna have to take it from me. And then they pulled out a gun, and she was like, shoot your best shot. And they pulled the trigger, and the gun jammed. And then they looked, and then they ran away. And so at that point, that was like, that was around 91, or that was maybe 90, 91, because that was right before the LA riots. And then so at that point, my mom was trying to get out of LA anyway. Like, the lifestyle that was just that, from, let's say maybe my dad's lifestyle, then it just didn't match. And she had a baby and she had to leave. She wasn't trying to raise me up here and all of that. And so that's why we went ahead and went to Vegas. And then at that point, it was, her and I, and then she ended up getting remarried briefly. We had my sister. And that was a pretty tumultuous time in that marriage. But all the while, I was still, I just knew that I had to go to school in order to get it. That was like my only ticket, or in my mind, that was my only ticket. It's like, just go to school and you have to get straight A's, because you're not going to be able to afford to go anywhere because you guys are poor. So I just kept going to school and just kept on, and was very involved in the church. And that was in church activities and school activities, and just kind of just overachieving and everything on the outside. At the same time, I mean, I was like, I knew that I was gay like from age 5.
5?
Yeah.
So how are you processing that as a 5-year-old? You're just like,
oh my God, Zach on Power Rangers is so cute. I like him, but I can't tell anybody. Like Aww. That,
Yeah.
When it's like, oh, when you getting a girlfriend, you tell kids like, oh, that's your little girlfriend. That's this. It's like, I knew that it was like, oh, I got it. At first it felt weird. It was like, okay, well, maybe I just don't like girls yet, but then at the same time, growing up, one in, a very Christocentric family, my dad's a preacher, my mom, my grandma taught Sunday school. It's Christian family. I never was able to talk about any of these feelings, because it was always prompted my dad would be like, oh, you regular, right? Like, you regular, right? You straight, right? Because we ain't having all that, or just how it goes. And so you grow up with that, not really having an identity in it. And so that made life, although I was doing well as far as in school and my character and everything was being developed by awesome parenting. My mom is, she's the GOAT. But that was being built. I still wasn't able to build. I think I kept on putting on what people wanted me to be for my entire life. At the same time, though, as far as like AOL, online dating back then was, ASL, right? Or, or the party line, right? And so, I mean, I was like, that was my first like experience actually, like with other guys, was like from like age like 11 all the way up until, all the way through my life. And so that was kind of the quiet life that really spiraled into what became a lot of the right turns when I should have made a left in my life, leading up to so.
Do you think, or did they tell you later on, like, were your parents, or maybe specifically your father, was he kind of just wanting to operate in denial? Do you think deep down he just knew, or otherwise he wouldn't keep asking you?
No, he didn't know. I don't think he wasn't asking me to. I don't think, at least. I mean, nobody knew. Because when I came out, everyone was shocked. And I even asked my dad didn't know. That's just something that, like, our family is, at least, my paternal side, it's like, we're from South Central, we're from LA, so it's like, when it comes to like identity and masculinity and making sure that you're, rearing up a son in that way, it's, I think he was taking, you kind of have a proactive preventative measure, like, well, let me make sure my son is cool. Okay, yeah, you like girls, okay, go get these bitches, whatever. But when you come up in that kind of context, it makes it even harder to because you're trying to live up to, you're trying to live up to your dad or your cousins, or you're not trying to get beat up, or you're overdoing it. I didn't study. I was in orchestra. I had other, clearly now I'm looking back, and obviously I have other like artistic, like, just traits that I wasn't really able to cultivate until probably later, maybe after college. Well, no, during college too, because I went into web design, but I wasn't really able to do that in my younger years because, to be honest, for me, which is a misconception, but it was like, if I'm too artsy, I'm going to look gay, and then they're going to find out.
Wow.
Hey.
So at age 11, you were talking to other boys that liked boys?
I was talking
like
to
online?
other men.
Other men?
Yeah.
And you were 11?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So, like, did you ever have a really close friend or anyone that you kind of would maybe try to feel it out and see if how they felt about someone who's gay? Like, did you ever, or did you sort of feel like you had this world over here where no one really knew me except that's like the world over there, and then like your close friends and family just never knew? Like, there was never one friend or anybody that...
No.
I mean, you just never had anyone to confide in, or was it lonely? Like, how did it...
It was absolutely lonely. You have you have quote unquote, mind you, two different worlds. Neither of them know you, because when you're in the closet in the other world, you're just shady, and you're just hooking up, and then you're looking to see who sees me, or let me dodge out of here. So no one really knows you, and you never have that kind of sounding board to bounce off, in full, without that duplicity,
Yeah.
No, I didn't have anyone. Oh, no, I take that back. I had one friend who was my high school sweetheart. We dated, we dated from 9th grade to 12th grade, I think. Best friend. She's still my best friend today. She's like,
really? That's awesome.
Yeah, she came out. She's like super lesbian. She came out like in her early 20s.
You guys found each other.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
We had gone through some similar childhood trauma, and she was the only person that I had told, because I mean, I was molested at a young age. And so she was the only person that I had, that I had told that to ever.
Yeah. And
that was like when we were both like 15 or something. So she was the only person. But as far as like past that, no, there's nobody.
Yeah. Did she come? Sorry, Joey. Did she come out sooner than you? Like before you?
Yeah, she did. She came out she came out in like, I think after college. So let's see, we graduated 2009. I graduated 2010, but class is 2009. So she probably came out like maybe in 2010.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So was it so do you mind if I get caught back up?
Sorry.
No, good work. Good work.
It wasn't work.
Was it a process? Like, did you start thinking, I can't live this way for my whole life? Like, something's got to change. Or was it a sudden revelation of, I'm done? Was it gradual? Was it sudden as far as you deciding I'm coming out?
Oh, no, it was gradual. It was every day that I first knew all the way up until when I came out.
Gosh.
Yeah.
The day you first knew, are you saying when you were 5?
I'll say like 5 or 6. I mean, let's give a accurate before. I knew, but I'll say a puberty for sure. Yeah. I knew.
Yeah, that makes sense
for sure. Yeah, for sure. And so, yeah, no, it was always gradual. Because at the same time, I'm going through, in my mind, I don't want to go to hell. So my entire life was I have to try to be straight. That's like I have to let me get a girlfriend and make this work. Maybe there's something wrong with me.
Gosh, I just hate hearing that every single time.
Yeah, my thing, Priscilla's heard me say, once I discovered masturbation, from that point on, I was like, I'm going to hell because I can't stop this, and it's certainly going to send me to hell. So we probably had pretty similar upbringings for sure.
But
except
I
yours was not nearly as scary.
Because I would have felt like if I could do this to women, then maybe my masturbation will make me go to heaven better than maybe I'll be fixed.
Yeah, if you were masturbating like me, you would have been all right, man.
Yeah, he would have felt great about that. That's so funny.
So one thing I don't know, because I think that I found out kind of after the fact. Did you break the news on Twitter? Did you just start word of mouth with your close relationships? You just gradually started coming out?
Yeah, so I if I'm not mistaken, maybe someone will fact check or something. I don't know what the comments freaking do. I don't care, but like, I came out to my friends and my family and everything, like that whole me going to get tested and going and all that. That was like a couple years before it actually, came out. It blew up online, So I had already been going through, like, I had already been in my real life, so to speak, for like a couple years before I was kind of, I won't say forced, but before I was prompted to talk about it on a public place. Which I didn't want to be someone who, I actually did write one of those, those like little op-ed. It's not op-ed. What's when you write the little, I'm coming out, your little letter to everyone type thing.
Gotcha.
Oh, yeah.
I wrote one of those, like, but it ended up being for myself because I got to read back. I wrote one of those when I first came out, and I was going to post it, and my friend was like, all right. I was like, I think I'm going to put this on Tumblr, because I was like super impacted by when Frank Ocean did that. That really helped me out a lot when he came out.
Yeah.
That's my second favorite artist, by the way. And yes, I think very categorically like that. He's number 2.
Hey, who's number 1?
Dave Bazan from Pedro the Lion. I don't know if you've heard of him or not.
Oh, no. I'm not familiar. Okay. Pedro the Lion. Yeah. He was like, "Do you want to post this?" And I was like, "No." I said, "I think I'm going to post this." And he was like, "Are you sure?" And I was like, "Well," and at that time I was like, "Well, I think, aren't I supposed to?" Because once I came out to my mom, like once my parents and my sibling, once my family didn't reject me, I honestly didn't really give a shit about anybody else.
Right. That's how I would. Yeah.
I was so afraid. I had other friends that got kicked out of their house. There was just the myriad of nightmares that could possibly happen. And so once that was okay, and especially even my aunt and my uncle, my uncle's a pastor of a church, and he's been pastoring, legacy of pastors. He's once they didn't reject me, that gave me at least what I needed. And then,
that's so
I think not only
amazing,
interesting, but also I think super helpful to a lot of our listeners with just processing this. Would you put your family in the evangelical category?
Yeah.
And
it's a mix.
And so
okay. Because I would say I would say evangelical for the sake of like evangelism, right. But then there's also of course the intersection of evangelical being a particular group of Christians. Like, I didn't learn about the evangelical quote unquote world until I got involved with guys and girls in Christian hip hop.
Right.
So that's when I started learning about like when I when I was on Humble Beast and got to kind of learn about like Calvinism and all that stuff. I didn't come from that.
Right.
We grew up missionary Baptists. So
yeah. So was their response, "Man, we love you so much and we hate that you're in this sin"? Or was like what was their response? Like how did they process it?
Depends on the person.
Was there crying? Like, were people crying? Like, were like sad, and then you would have to be like, it doesn't have to be sad. Like, this is actually beautiful. This is great. I can finally be myself. Like,
that came later. Initially, because they got up for me, from my story. It wasn't like, hey, I want to sit down, I'm coming out. It was everything around me. Everything was tumultuous anyway. So I was already dealing with addiction and, that. So that was already, a concern. Yeah. But then also it was like, oh, I'm HIV positive. And then like, yeah. And then it's like, yeah, because I'm gay. Because I knew I was going to, I can't even say I was like brave. And there was like this revelation, like, I got to come out and tell the world. And I was like, no, I got to tell the whole truth, because I'm at a point now where people are going to ask questions and I just can't lie anymore.
Yeah.
So you're gonna ask me where I was. I gotta just be able to to say it. Plus, just before that, I got read up and down by someone that I was dealing with, and I realized that I was a hypocrite, because I was just being shady, and even the people that I was in, that's a certain lifestyle with, I was being worse off. Like, they were still being more gracious of people and more understanding and helping of each other than I was. I was just coming in being selfish and then leaving, and too self-absorbed, and
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you were talking about at one point in your life that I could easily relate to, and that is, oh gosh, my sin is going to send me to hell. Was there any transition in your mind as far as what you thought about homosexuality? Like, did over time you just started to accept there's this can't be wrong, or did you take the route of, if this is what Christianity is about, I can't be a part of it? Like, how does your faith and your sexuality play out?
Yeah, I did all those. I mean, I think that's a misnomer that I guess I would like to debunk. It's like sometimes we can take a situation and compartmentalize a mindset, like, okay, this was how I did it, or this was how this person. But in all honesty, it was all of those, and it was a whirlwind. It's like, am I going to hell? Okay, I remember one morning I was, it was after I don't even think I came out publicly from your last question about like the tweet. Did I announce it? There was actually a tweet that I put on my 30th birthday, and it was like something about like it wasn't I'm gay, but it was just like, trying to be someone you're not. The problem is trying to act like you're straight or something like that. And then there were other little side comments of, like, it's a YouTube video. Someone had put like, oh, this is gay. And I was like, oh, super gay. And I think people just thought I was being sarcastic. But I was actually, for myself, I was like, no, I'm just like being for real. I did an interview one time, and they accidentally said, instead of JGivens, sometimes people say like, oh, gay Givens, and they're like, oh, she's like, oh, I'm so sorry. It was, yeah. And she was like,
that was a serious mistake.
Yeah, she was, because this is before she didn't know. And so, and I was like, it's cool, you can call me gay. And for me, and she was like, ha ha ha, laughing. But in real time, for me, I was like, that was like, they didn't know yet, but I was like, I'm not lying anymore. So you think it's trolling? I've always just been telling the truth. But LOL, okay.
Yeah.
But as far as the what was it? Was there what was your question? Was there a moment, or?
Well, no, just how. I mean, honestly, currently, how are you like? What do you? I mean, I hate these categorical questions. Yeah, like, do you consider yourself someone with Christian faith still? I just have no idea.
Yeah.
I think my question would be, how is your peace?
Oh my God,
like,
it's great.
How's your peace?
I'm actually like, this has been this past 4 years. What's it for? It's 2020. This past 4 years has been the best time of my life.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't, as far as faith is concerned, I mean, I still, you have to, when I was in going through faith crisis, or whatever you want to call it, first off, I had to totally accept that I was going to hell before I could move past that, because otherwise I'm still trying not to. And, if you believe according to the gospel, what do you do? Like, that doesn't make sense. You can't, right? That's what's said, but not necessarily what's believed in the heart or in practice. And so for me, I had to accept myself, and then accept like what actually like faith means, I remember waking up one morning and I saw there's I believe she's a pastor now. Are you guys familiar with Julie Rogers? Is that her name? Julie Rogers?
I'm not actually. Nope.
She's an LGBT. There's a faithfully LGBT, I think, is the hashtag or whatever. But she's a queer pastor, and at that time, she was tweeting things. She went on doing speeches about her experience and that blah blah blah. And so I was kind of watching her Twitter, and she said something, and someone super staunch reformed person was talking about going to hell. And when I read that, I kind of just cried, and I was lying in bed and I kind of cried, and I was like, well, and I just like, well, if I was like, God, why would you make me like this? Like, you know, I'm thinking about like the scriptures where it's like, you know, he makes, the potter makes, you know, one clay for the furnace, or I'm butchering it, but you know, Paul was writing about the potter and the clay, and one can be made for trash. And you know, who is to say? Let me know if I'm. Are you
I think it's like we're with you. I think it's like noble purposes and then regular. Something like that.
So I was taking that as a metaphor, like, well, God, if you made me, you definitely made me like this. I can't run from it anymore, because all of this duplicitous living, I mean, this overachieving, this always trying to be perfect, so that no one, you know, just it's a psychological trauma that comes from being in the closet, you know. And
I like how you worded that, because that is what always breaks my heart when I hear it, is like trying so hard to be straight, or maybe when I get a girlfriend, or then I'll change, and then or maybe when I have a baby, or when I get married, or when
you're always trying to change yourself.
Always trying to change yourself instead of loving yourself. Like, have you done therapy? Like, have you met with a therapist or anything? Because I just met with a therapist the other day, and she asked me something really crazy. This sounds really silly to say it like this, but she looked at me and she said, "Do you love yourself?" And the way she was looking at me and asking me that, I immediately had this huge lump in my throat. And that sounds so cheesy, but I don't feel like I have low self-esteem or anything like that. But when you ask me if I love myself, I just told her, well, that makes me feel uncomfortable. Like, my first thing I think of is that makes me feel uncomfortable. And she said, we protect what we love.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow. Like, I mean, so trying to constantly be somebody that other people will accept just feels like it's not loving to yourself. Like, you're not protecting yourself. You're protecting how other people feel about you, or
right.
You know
Which is
I mean?
A common thread, I mean, in the community. Like, that's what pride means. You know, it's like it's not to be pit against humility. It's not in the same context for me. You know, I can't speak for everyone, but in general consensus, pride is about accepting and loving yourself and loving the person in the mirror. And then then you come out and you say, this is me, and take it or leave it. I'm not really doing anything else for anyone else but me, as far as even getting to understand myself. You know, so many things were repressed as far as exploring yourself. So you're, you know, and being able to sit with the things that you don't like, you know, being able to see, wow, I'm a hypocrite. I don't want to be a hypocrite. And I mean, internally, like, it's like, this is a conflict. This hypocrisy is a conflict. Oh, wait, maybe I'm not going to hell then. You know, because there's a lot of the people that think they're going to heaven or whatever. I don't even want to pit against religion. I don't like religion, but I am spiritual. You know, I still hold on to. I still refer to, you know, stories that I know and have preached and have learned and have memorized about Jesus, because Jesus is a pretty dope person. You know, and so, but to kind of go back to Joey's comment earlier about, like, even with the faith, I know I get what is it? I always get asked that. Are you still a believer? Are you still a believer? Oh, your Christian music was better. Oh, and it's like, you weren't listening to any of it, because it's all the same person. Like, you know, oh, I miss the Christian stuff. This isn't it. You know, they deride your art, all that stuff. You know, you got to have thick skin.
Silly.
But I don't like to say I don't readily just be like, yeah, I'm a Christian. And it's not even necessarily because of God or anything. It's just because of everyone that screams about him, like those people. And I felt like, you know, that was a community that I saw illustrated on a large scale all at once, treat me as if, like, just completely treat me and look at me and regard me as like the devil, just because they found out something about me that they still didn't even know the depths of. And so with that, I was just like, this isn't it. This is a cult, you know, or cultish behavior or whatever, you know? And so,
very much.
Well, so before we move into that territory, because I'm not looking forward to that part as far as what you received, especially at the hands of Christians, but tell, you know, you've already talked about your family tell us some other beautiful stories of people embracing you and encouraging you and being there for you, and maybe some that caught you off guard.
Oh yeah. I mean, my dad definitely caught me off guard. I told my dad like maybe 2.5 months after my mom and my sisters knew. I mean, it pretty much like I'll have to give it up as far as artists within the space. I mean, you know, Propaganda was he's the dude that he's that guy's my friend. He is a real person. He and his wife Alma and his whole family. So that was never really anything. And I remember too, even it was challenging for him because he was getting kind of questioned from people like, well, how are you still friends with him? Or are you still going to talk to him? Or can you talk to him on Twitter in front of everybody because they're going to think that we're affirming
Lord
or,
have mercy.
you know, all these terms like affirming and all this stuff. Yeah. So, you know, but he was challenged with that. And he told me, and he was like, man, that, this is my friend. Like, I'm not going to do that. So that was cool for him to see even him go through that process. Kristen Gray, and his wife, his now wife, they were amazingly influential. Chris Shaban, amazingly influential in showing love.
Who's Christian Gray? I'm sorry,
Kristen Gray is he's a singer. He's an R&B gospel singer.
Gotcha.
He was on a record label. Well, he's been on tons of record labels. I'm not even going to do that.
Yeah,
he's been.
Yeah,
but yeah, he's a phenomenal singer, Kristen Gray.
Yeah. Well, tell me what you mind if I have 3 tweets that I want to get to. One of them, I am actually genuinely curious exactly what you're saying. Is that fine if I just read some of these?
Go ahead. Look, you don't have
stand
to
by
ask
your
if it's
tweets.
fine.
You put them out there.
Ask me whatever.
So one, you said some of the same people that treated some of my closest friends like scum are the cats liking and supporting. In both of those words in quotations. F*** y'all for never apologizing to my friends and acting like things are all good and godly. Self-righteous vipers. I'm humbled and embarrassed to be like y'all. I love that last line. But what's going on there? Like, I'm probably just punchy, but so people, yeah, explain that.
Yeah, when was that? What's the date? Like 2017, probably.
I
Does
don't
it have the date on it. That's probably when everybody
probably
was.
did. It just didn't.
Yeah,
it didn't turn up in the print.
Yeah, I was saying, F y'all, all these people that were telling me I was gonna die alone and all this stuff in my DMs, and then and then as far as the friends I was referring to, there are several artists that I came up with that were treated the same way from the, you know, I guess primarily the Christian hip hop fandom community. You know, one of my friends, he ended up he was on a Christian label, and he was asking questions kind of, I think online he was asking questions about like the other spit, like maybe chakra or maybe like energy, or he was kind of talking like that, and immediately everyone was like, are you still Christian? And then wildfire, you know, and then it just went, and he ended up just getting bashed for years. I mean, even to this day, like people is still, you know, still kind of bash him, and he has kind of some of those scars played out in his recent album that he kind of put some stuff on there. So we were really close. We came up in Vegas together. And then all of the people that I was closest to, they were all doing things that were on the fringes, or that were, you know, I guess loose cannons, and, you know, all the people that are nice to you and we love you so much, you know, they treated everyone that I knew that had questions or had a different lifestyle. They treated all of us. They, you know, I don't want to sound like a victim, because I'm definitely past that. It's not a victim, but it felt then that you just get blackballed, and then everyone just is either throwing the Bible at you or, you know, telling you you're going to fail. Right. And that happened with, honestly, my entire community of, I guess, closest artist friends, for sure.
Wow.
For sure.
Like,
now, what do you?
Is there anything that's like stands out in your mind as far as like something that someone said or emailed, and you're just like, I mean, total WTF exclamation sort
like
of moment.
You're gonna die alone. That was
yeah.
Why? What?
What
why
does that
would
even
someone
mean?
say
You're gonna
that?
die alone. Like you're not gonna. Everybody's.
Yeah, homosexuality is a sin, and unfortunately, I forgot what that person said, but unfortunately, you don't see that, and you're gonna, it's just gonna lead you to die alone.
Wow.
Everyone dies alone, first off, so
You're so funny.
What? So how did Humble Beast play out? Did you feel supported or not supported by the Humble Beast community?
Well, I wasn't. No. But Humble Beast community as a most part, everybody from the label was cool. We had already kind of parted ways. Yeah. Before that, so afterward, I wasn't really super duper in contact like that regularly, gotcha. Except for with like Prop and with Effecto. Well, no, let me take that back. They're gonna kill me. And like Foreknown, you familiar with Foreknown?
Yep.
He and his wife, absolutely amazing. They're extremely supportive. Everyone from Humble Beast was cool. I don't know what people. You drift apart from people, and you don't know if you're still cool or not, or I don't know what's being said, but I do know that the people, everybody for the most part was still cool. I don't have any terrible like Humble Beast stories as far as that.
Yeah. Like I actually really, because is it Jackie Perry Hill or Jackie Hill Perry?
Yeah, Jackie Hill Perry.
Like I actually saw a video of her. I don't remember if she was actually saying something, but the title is Jackie Hill Perry responds to JGivens or something. And I appreciated, basically she was just like, screw this. I'm not addressing this specifically. She basically said heterosexuality doesn't get people to heaven. Like, what are y'all thinking? It's about Jesus. And I thought that was pretty cool.
Right. Yeah, Jackie's super cool for that.
Well, I was just going to ask, like, when you're going through all that, and I like that you said, I'm past all that. I'm not a victim, or I don't want to, like, I understand that because I don't, like, if bad stuff happens to us, which kind of did this last year also, like, I don't want to sit in that victim spot. It doesn't feel good. It's not very empowering. I don't want to sit there very long, even though maybe things are hard or something hurt or whatever. But like for you, have you contemplated, like, did you spend time trying to figure out why, like, what motivates people to act that way? Like, to me, like, are they just afraid? Like, is it just fear driven? And so you have to be a certain way. I mean, what do you ever think about that? Like, why are they doing that? Or you just move past it? Like, I'm just going to surround myself with positive people, with love.
Yeah.
I don't have, like, I don't know.
It would be nice.
Do you ever try to
be
sit
able
and
to
figure it out?
Yeah,
I don't know.
every day. Yeah, I mean that's kind of the movement, if you will. Like you can't just separate. It's impossible. Well, one, it's fear based. It's homophobia.
Yeah.
And so it's definitely fear. And or if it's not, well, it is. I think homophobia has so many different branches and offshoots and different styles.
Yeah, like because in Christianity, is it all homophobia, or is it just they've been taught certain ways for so long they're just so scared of hell, and so like you have to. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's multi-layered. I mean, it's at base it is fear. Period. And then that just branches out. So if you're afraid of hell or you're afraid of not pleasing God, then you won't.
Yeah.
You're going to, or if you're afraid of your own faith being rocked, because I think a lot of people are so afraid of that. Yeah, because they'll feel like they're going to break down, or maybe if I pull one string, one piece of one thread out, it's going to unravel all my faith, and then oh God.
Yeah, good way to describe
you guys.
That. Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Yeah,
that's my sister.
I didn't hear.
Oh, okay. I heard it then. She's so annoying. Don't put that in there. Well, put it in there. Whatever. Love you, Taylor. But
she like call you an asshole or something? I didn't hear.
That was really funny.
I forgot we were recording. I'm like, I'm talking shit about my sister. No, I love that girl. But like, you know, you pull one thread and they feel like the whole, you know, tapestry is going to fall apart. And what am I going to do then? Or, you know, they have questions, but they suppress their own questions or own doubt. And they just say, you know what, I'm not going to go through that self-identification. I'm just going to go to church and continue to like wash myself to not, you know, deal with that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's all fear. And that's the problem. And I mean, I guess if the scripture is that what love covers a multitude of sins, huh? What casts all fear? Love casts all fears. There's one.
Yeah.
Or cast out all fears. I really don't think that hate is the antithesis of love. I think fear is.
Yeah. Yeah. That is so good. Because I think too, I mean, this is like a much, whatever. I just feel like anything negative that comes into my life is usually driven by fear.
Mm-hmm.
So like when I fail as a parent, it's usually because I was afraid, you know, they were going to do this. So I got to control this. And instead of just acting peacefully or out of love, I try to control it seems to be the root.
Yeah.
For sure.
All right. So tweet number 2, they reprimand us for celebrating our identities because they're bigots, vipers, revealing venomous fangs through talk about a poet. My gosh.
I stole it from Jesus. He talk about vipers and stuff. Like that's just his imagery, right? I was trying to give people what
Jesus
they knew.
Didn't say nothing about coy grins, man.
Yeah, because vipers are the snakes that smile, right?
There you go. There you
Wow.
go. Vipers revealing venomous fangs through coy grins of innocence, facades of a house built on hate. They steal from the poor and dig wells in poverty-stricken tropical destinations for spiritual masturbation.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's just, dude, seriously, that's just like, holy cow.
I was pissed.
So let me ask you this, because I would say that most of my close relationships are with people who consider themselves followers of Jesus, worshipers of Jesus, and they are either gay affirming or they would fall in this category that I will describe, and that is, I wish to God there wasn't anything in the Bible that said anything against homosexuality, because damn, it would be so much easier, because I feel the same way about gay people as I do about straight people. I love them. I love, you know, people's personalities. I enjoy their company. Like, there is nothing about a gay person that I don't like. Why does it have to be wrong? And I have to basically be true to what I believe is in the Bible. Like, do you see that sort of person in a different camp, especially because of your upbringing and how you viewed scripture?
Yeah. I mean, the latter of those two, the person that's wishing it wasn't
right.
this way because they're, you know,
right.
they actually, okay. So on that tweet was, I'll be completely frank. That tweet was definitely not a generalization. That was targeted to the same reason that vipers was used in the text. That was targeted to specific people that do that pimp God's name and use, you know, things for tax shelters and don't actually put programs or start churches, you know, that stuff. You know, so I definitely wasn't in general talking about I wasn't generalizing, because you can't do that anyway. But I was so mad because the people that were coming at me were just, I didn't know what they were saying, but that's all I felt, you know, I was like, you guys this is hypocrisy just from the things that you're saying. You know, just from the things you're saying and how you're regarding someone. That latter group, that, you know, I guess they're tussling with like their feelings toward gay people, despite what the Bible's, or I wish that wasn't there.
Yeah, like I mean that was the camp that I was in for years. It's just like, this makes things so complicated. Like, I don't want to think that gay people are sinning. Like, that was my context for a really long time, and I think a lot of people have heard my story as far as why I don't feel that way anymore. I won't get into that now, but there wasn't any sort of homophobia. There wasn't any sort of hatred. There wasn't any sort of rolling my eyes in disgust. It was sincerely, like, I mean, honestly, I've heard pastors behind closed doors say, damn these scriptures. I mean, not in those exact words, but just like, why do they have to be in there?
Yeah, I think with that camp, I think it's important what's important if you're going to go scripturally is to remember that Romans 1 has everyone in it. And I think because of the culture and the degree, the nature, or the stereotype, the stigmatization of homosexuality, it's like it's in bold next to every other list of things that, according to the belief, are all the same. So even for someone who, bless their heart, they're trying to they're like, why is this here? Even them making that judgment and asking, why is this here, when it really doesn't pertain to them at all, is a little bit, it's a little narrow-minded when you're looking at kind of, the idea of sin and no one's perfect. We say that all the time, but then we tend to do this vertical hierarchy even in our own mind, even with our empathy. And it's like, your empathy is kind of arrogant.
Yeah. Gosh, your empathy is arrogant.
Yeah. So when you talk like that, like with what you just said, as far as everybody having sin and all of that, I think that a lot of listeners who would say being gay is definitely a sin, that's how they would talk. They would put, in fact, I mean, check this out. Another video that I watched, it was some sort of I think, Christian rap YouTube channel. And, the guy's super theatrical and entertaining and all this stuff. And he literally said something that I just face palm sort of thing. He said, but you think about homosexuality. I mean, you have murderers, you have liars, you have cheaters, and some people are homosexuals. Like, everybody sins. And those were that was the 3 words that he came up with: murderer, liar, cheater, and then some people are gay.
They always pick the worst ones, like we're molesters or we're murderers or we're, it's just these terrible things to other people, all of those actions. When it comes to sin, I'm not one to delineate what's sin or not. When people are like, do you believe it's a sin or not? It's a futile conversation. I don't even answer it, because it's like, it doesn't matter. You already believe what you believe. That's not the point.
Yeah.
I'm holding anyone to be accountable to whatever they believe. So I'm not trying to prove or go and do exegesis like, no, I'm right, no, you're right. If it's a mystery, nobody's right and everyone's wrong. But if you say you believe something and then you are synthesizing, or your outward isn't that, I could at least put those together and say, hey, this doesn't add up. Like, if you say that, all of these commandments are summed up into 2, love God with all your heart, mind, soul, and love your neighbor as yourself. And if Jesus, the dude that you're boasting about so much, if he said that, then why are we talking about this, and why are we talking about the law like that?
Yeah. Do you think because sometimes Pricilla will call me out on this, and I respect when she calls me out, but I feel that there are such hypocritical people within the church that are so homophobic, or just the top of the list of the worst sins, obviously gay people, and yet these people are very greedy. These people are very selfish. These people actually don't love their enemies. And so sometimes I feel like there's a time and place that's just like with what you said. All right, I don't even, whether it's a sin or not, I don't care. But if you think it's a sin and you are going to highlight this, please take a look at yourself and all this stuff. And we're not talking about little slip-ups here and there. We're talking your lifestyle is completely contrary to what Jesus talked about. Like, but I understand how, you kind of call me out because you're like, don't equate it with other bad stuff. But I feel like for some people that are so caught into gay being wrong, at least if you think that someone like Jeremiah is living a life of sin, what about your lifestyle of sin?
I frankly am so tired of hearing your life of sin and your life of, like, it feels so like caveman to me. I just don't know why we're talking like that.
Yeah.
It feels so yucky. I don't know how else to describe it.
We're conditioned to speak like that because maybe we are still trying to check the boxes to make sure that we're okay. Okay, this is a sin. I used to steal, but I don't steal anymore. So that, or it's, there's all these different things that people say that, I tweeted something the other day, right? And it was like, people will die on hills that they have no experience climbing.
Wow. Yeah, gosh.
I'm going to tweet I'm not going to give JGivens credit for it because I want retweets.
I think Gwenny needs to read his stuff. Like, we have a daughter that loves to write, and she's in 6th grade and loves to do poetry. And I'm like, oh my gosh, Gwenny needs to read all of his stuff.
Seriously, what would you do if you saw me tweet that and I didn't put your name? Would you like email me and be like, dude, what the hell, bro? Like, that's kind of weird.
Nah, I mean, I probably wouldn't even confront you about it, but I probably would.
He would not confront you. He's way too classy for that, Joey.
Yeah, I definitely would screenshot my tweet of that and then just maybe juxtapose them with no text and just let the art speak for itself. And then.
All right, so you know the territory that you're in. Like, I really don't want to think something and not say it, but I know for a fact that and I know how offensive this is. It's offensive to me as well. But I know many of our listeners heard you say that you were molested, and many of them were like, "Oh, that's why it's good."
Yeah, that's why.
Actually, you know what? Yeah. That actually got me. I'm like, I do want to address that because I want people. Because what you said before that is you knew when you were 5, like you felt different when you were 5. Like But
seriously, when you said that you were molested, it allowed so many people to check their box and be like, "Oh, well, that explains it."
That's cute because it's like there's people that are molested that are straight. So, like that's a very common stereotype that's really hurtful. That you kind of have to wear and kind of just destigmatize to your life is people. I mean, people just assume anything deviant, or they assume one, it's horrible to. Oh, that's why. It's like I'm just go back to what I said before. That doesn't make you identify with that. It could be something where you're introduced to. It's just like, oh, I like coffee because I tried it the first time. It's like I don't know. I don't even want to. Any other analogy is going to be clumsy. But that's definitely a misnomer. What I don't like about that too is it branches off into people just think like if you're gay, like that you're going to molest their kids or something, or we're put as like pedophiles or deviants or all of these things, and it's just it's unfortunate that it's like that. But I'm kind of used to that, to be honest. Just I'm Black, so I get it, in a different context, but I get it.
Yeah.
Well, can I ask one more question too? And this, I'm almost a little embarrassed to ask it because I'm grew up in the Midwest. I'm like, oh, I have white privilege. Like I'm white, grew up in the Midwest, and I'm mostly white community, Mm-hmm. And so, but from my is it harder? I don't know. This is clumsy too.
I will ask it because I know what you're
to be
say.
Black and gay. Like, does it feel like you have 2 barriers to overcome? Like, do you feel like in your culture? Well, in your culture, like, okay, can you talk about
really
it?
Hard.
Because I feel like I hear that, but I don't know. I'd like to understand.
It's very, very hard. You already have your outward appearance. I guess that's an intersection that is readily oppressed, and you are raised with how to adapt here with that in your entire lifestyle. But then when you're queer, you don't feel that you have the support even within your people, because so you're really pushed aside. I mean, and I'm privileged to be a gay, cisgender man, because black trans people have way worse than my life was.
Yeah.
Way worse. It's just, it's a totem pole, it just goes all the way down. So yeah, those 2 intersections are very hard. It helped me to navigate, I think, being openly gay, navigate with, the, I guess, persecution or oppression a little better because I had a context, but no, yeah. that's why I work at a nonprofit that is geared toward Black and Latino men of color and trans women for providing programs for art and everything. And I mean, you hear all types of stories of huge part of the homeless population is kids that got kicked out of their house because they said they were gay.
Oh my god!
And their parents kicked them out of the house, and then they kicked out at 16, 14.
Never thought of that. Yeah.
So do you think?
Let me just interject with that. Let me just say that you never thought of that. Please, keep on. That's common, and it's just no one knows how common it is. It's really sad because no one will look into our world to actually see us as humans, to see what we've gone through. They only look at the flag and say, I guess in a religious context, say this is an abomination. But it's like, you're not even asking this person how their day was, or you don't even know their story at all. You're just, it's really, really sad because it's overlooked.
Yeah.
Do you know statistics of like, I don't know. Now this sounds like I am trying to put it on, like, what's the worst? Like being Latino, because I guess like coming out and you're in a Latino family, because it's very, like, my assumption is it's very machismo. Yeah. And so like, whoa, is that like coming against so much of your own culture? And then, or being Black or being Christian, like what, I guess.
I think they're all the same. I think the difficulty is all the same in context, especially when it comes to like, sexuality, like that's something I think the nuances are different.
Yeah.
Of course. But
different challenges.
As a man, I'm not a woman, so I don't know what it's like to come out as lesbian or whatever. I'm not, I can't speak for women on that regard. But as a man, there's a lot of pressure to be something, even from, the straightest alpha male guy, whatever, the guy's guy. He still has a ton of pressure on him to be something that he's not, to be an image of Superman or something, or Leave It to Beaver's dad or whatever, and it's like, that's not even a real person. Like, so it's difficult all across.
That's one thing I love that you said too. I'm totally monopolizing, Joey. I'm sorry. But one thing I love that you said a lot earlier too, is you were talking about social media being such a sliver of your life. And it sounds like, did I hear you correctly that it took about 2 years before you were more public about everything? Is it because you were spending time with your family, processing on your own, giving yourself time, or was it because of recovery? I don't really know the timeline.
I was forced to be public by the response of the public. It's honestly like in the tweet where I said the birthday tweet, I had other tweets before, like about like HIV health, or about like I had different things, and people were like, I see you posting this stuff, like what's going on? So it was kind of an amalgamation. And then when the screenshots and the went viral, so to speak, that kind of made the event that is the infamous event series that everyone knew, but it was all gradual, or it was always there, in some way.
And like, how do you feel with like health wise, just in general? Like, how are you doing? Is you're HIV positive? Like what?
Oh, no, I'm undetectable. Yeah, I'm healthy. I probably have more T cells than you.
Yeah. So can you describe? I mean, I could be educated.
I was going to ask that too. Like, what in 2020 with modern medicine? I don't really know what that means. You're HIV positive. So what? Like,
great.
In the 80s, it was a death sentence.
For sure.
You hear AIDS, it's like, okay, that person's going to die.
Well, HIV and AIDS.
Right. So is your HIV going to develop into AIDS, or because of modern medicine?
I hope not. Shit. No, I don't want it. No. No, it's not. Okay. Yeah. And also, you guys don't have to worry about like walking on eggshells or being, say how you feel. I'm not going to be offended. And this
you
is
actually
important.
make us feel really comfortable, but other people are going to listen, and we're going to sound like the biggest dummies.
So for sure.
Really,
well, I'm used to that.
I'm
the pastor with no answers. So, and I do
You
want to
have
let
to
you know
educate
we're
us.
wrapping this thing up here in a second, because you got to chill before you got to get up in the morning for another day of work, like everybody. But yeah. So I would like to hear about your health, and then I do want to hear about your latest art and what's to come from
For
you.
sure.
And then I've got one more tweet to read that will end the show. I want you to have the last word because it's a badass tweet. But go ahead.
Okay, I appreciate it.
Whatever you say.
Well, health wise, yeah. So HIV is a virus that attacks your white blood cells, or your T cells, or your CD4 cells. Each of those are like soldiers, right? So you don't want your soldiers to be outnumbered. If you get lower than a certain point, I believe the point is 200. Having 200 per, it's a ratio, but it's like 200 soldiers pretty much. Anything lower than that is AIDS.
Gotcha. And there's no recovering from that once you get to that point. Am I right? I'm
not sure. I do know that I know someone who was born with HIV and had AIDS and they still take meds and stuff. So it's just your cell count's really low. The antiretroviral medication, I know there's I forget what, there's commercials on now. Those fight off the virus, and they help to increase your CD4 or your T cell count, so they get you more soldiers. I believe on average, like whether you have HIV or not, you have about 700 or 800 range. When I first was diagnosed, I was like maybe 100 away from AIDS, and then so after I got on meds, after about a month of taking meds, my count was up to a certain status. Once you get to undetectable status, that means that you can't transmit the virus. You'll see like a U equals U. You might see that around. Undetectable, untransmittable. It means that you can't transmit the virus. It won't mutate. It's pretty much like it's dormant. And you can have kids, and you can have kids and they won't have the virus, and that's what undetectable means. And so that kind of that advancement came like around 2000, 2001. That's when.
And here we are in 2020, and Pricilla and I are like,
late as hell.
No way.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, super late.
Yeah, super late. Super lame, super late.
Well, but you see, I say that to say, you see how easy it is to catch up 20 years just from a conversation. Just from asking.
Yeah.
Yeah,
for sure. Okay, probably another really dumb question, but side effects of the medication? Like, are there any, or is it almost like taking a vitamin? I know.
I'm very grateful. No, it's like taking a vitamin. I only take, my cocktail isn't even, I only take one pill a day. I mean, our 4 people, when they were, I know people that were diagnosed with HIV in like 85, and they're still alive today. And they're our pioneers. They're still alive, and they tell about when they had to, had a whole cocktail, and and it make you vomit, or then it cause liver failure. Then they have to fix your liver, and then you get pneumonia, and then so it was really, really hard back then. So the strand of virus that I have is pretty aggressive, and it's pretty intelligent. It'll mutate, but I got to make sure that I stay on my meds, because if I'm not on them for a good amount of time, it can mutate. There are many different strands of HIV, so it's not just one thing.
Yeah, similar to like cancer. You can kind of learn about the cancer in your body and then learn how to attack it or whatever.
Right.
All right. So first of all, thank you so much for so much of your time, for real. This has just been so awesome to be able to talk and ask these sorts of questions. And I think our listenership is really going to benefit from it as well. But I don't want to miss out on where you're going with your music and what's to come and what are you currently working on and that sort of thing.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, definitely. Because you brought up Fly Exam. That's cute. But I did drop an album. I dropped an album about 4 months ago in October, called Domino. That's my most recent album. I don't know if you got a chance to check that out, but check that one out.
For sure.
And all the videos and everything. I mean, I've done that album, put that out. I'm working on more stuff too, but I'm really pushing that album. So the album's called Domino, and it's out now. All the videos are out. There's if you want merch, everything is on JGivens.com. I'm still doing what I always was doing, to make music.
Yep.
Right here.
Yep. We'll put
it's like your mid-century microphone.
We'll put all that in the show notes as well. And Pricilla, you have any last words? Jeremiah, last words, because I'm about to read a tweet and then drop the mic.
Drop the mic.
Yeah, I'm gonna drop the mic, and I'm gonna sound really cool, but it's not even gonna be my words.
No, I don't have anything profound to say. You're like the profound you're the person. So now I just don't even know what to say, except I feel like this conversation went by way too fast. I feel like we just scratched the surface. I'm like, do you travel? Like, do you need to come stay with us and hang out for a while? Because I would love that.
That's why podcasting is so hard. You can't do all of that.
You're super awesome. I think you are super awesome.
Thank you.
I am so glad I got to meet you.
I really enjoyed this. Like, this was what I thought it would be, but I was,
No, I wish I actually would have known. I don't know. I wish I would have been even more prepared, because I just feel like I have so many more questions. But super enjoyed our time, and I do hope we get to meet you sometime. I think it'd be really great.
I already have.
Yeah. Well, I would like to meet you face to face.
Yeah, with that, let me also put Levi the poet in there, because that's when I met you. We met at Audio Feed, right? That was I had been speaking with Levi for years before, but we had just met actually when you and I met. We had just met in person. Levi and I. He and his wife were also just completely. I just want to put them in as those people that were like stand out, real humans, and everything I can do with them. So,
honestly, and I mean, not to like kind of end on like such a bummer note, but I have like a visual of, I think, real in close proximity time wise. I think I met you for the first time. Preston Sprinkle for the first time, who I had on podcasts and everything, but not face to face, and then Jared Wilson, who committed suicide this past September.
I met him that day too with you.
Yep.
That's where I met.
Exactly. Yep.
Oh wow.
Yep. For sure.
Yeah.
All
That's
right.
crazy.
Well, man, let's. I actually do have. I've been looking for a hip hop artist to answer some hip hop questions that have been a brewing. So maybe this won't be the last time. Yeah. So here's the tweet that I'm going to read. There is a certain freedom from shame that can only be celebrated with a genuine response from those who have trusted that same freedom through true humbled confession, because the fruit of that is empathy and compassion. And for the record, I was a homo the whole time. God bless.
I was so pissed. Oh God! Well, I just pissed at all of the that was dope.
It's funny. I'm reading all these tweets like they're so awesome, profound. You're like, I was pissed.
I was hated. I was like, I just came out. That's the biggest confession ever. I'm going to hell. What? I don't get it. This is upside down. Stop following me. Leave me alone. That's not my boyfriend in that picture. That's my dad. You asshole.